This is a deeper listen from KEXP, the show where we talk with musicians about the thoughts and experiences that shape their music. Hello, I'm Emily Fox, back from maternity leave, thanks to Roddy Nickpour for holding down the fort while I took care of my second-born child in his first months of life. And today, I am very excited to bring you a conversation I had with one of my favorite artists, Neko Case. She released a new album in September. It's called Neon Gray Midnight Green. Neko Case grew up in lots of areas in Western Washington. She now lives with her many beloved pets in rural Vermont. Her career rose in the mid-2000s during the alt-country wave happening at the time. Her breakthrough album was the 2006 Fox Confessor Brings the Flood. Case is also a member of the supergroup The New Pornographers, which also features Carl Newman and John Collins, the bassist from Destroyer. Neon Gray Midnight Green is Case's first self-produced and her biggest sounding record to date. For this one, she added in a 20-piece chamber orchestra. It brought the single Wreck to life. The orchestra also brought elements of 1950s Hollywood into the track Oh Neglect. And some moments of unease. The song Tomboy Gold sounds like an avant-garde fever dream.
Dead center, remember.
There are also some melodies reminiscent to Case's Fox Confessor Brings the Flood. Here's a song from Fox Confessor.
I don't care if forever never comes.
And here's a track from the new Neon Gray Midnight Green.
I don't wanna know.
Here's another track from Fox Confessor.
Notes are hung so effortless.
And here's one from Neon Gray Midnight Green.
Like some silent movie star.
And as always, Case's connection to nature bleeds through the lyrics. In her single Wreck, she talks about being a meteor and a solar system.
I'm a meteor shattering around you, and I'm sorry.
This is similar to her narrative of being a tornado in love off her 2009 record, Little Cyclone.
This tornado loves you. What will make you believe me?
It's been a big year for Neko Case. In January, she released a memoir titled The Harder I Fight, The More I Love You. It's about her entrance into the music industry, as well as her childhood, being raised by parents who accidentally got pregnant in their late teens, and the neglect and abandonment Case felt along the way. It was also announced this year that Case is scoring the music for an upcoming musical for Thelma and Louise. I caught up with Case recently to talk about her new album. I first asked her about her song Little Gears, which starts off with lyrics about watching a spider build a web in less than an hour.
I watched a spider build a web. It's something I'd never done before. I assumed it was a 3-day event, as intricate as they are, as fragile as they are.
They look so spectacular and difficult and mathematical, and they just know how to do it, and yet we are looking off planet for things that are more amazing than here, and I'm just like, how can you not notice what is so incredible here? Always Team Earth. I'm like, yeah, that stuff's cool, but it's all cool.
Yeah, because also in that song you say, like, why do people need to feel special all the time? And I'm wondering, like, what did that spider teach you about, like, self-importance or ego?
Well, humans have an outsized case of species exceptionalism that is very detrimental to us and to the earth. We don't have a proper sense of ourselves, and it makes us feel inadequate because there's so much we're trying to live up to that isn't necessary. And, some of the things that we are killing ourselves to do don't have anything to do with life on Earth. They're very strange concepts, and it would be so easy to free ourselves from that. But perspective is something that humans have a hard time with.
Also in the song Little Gears, you have this line, "We all crave some wildness we cannot know."
We all crave some wildness we cannot know.
It made me think about this book that I'm reading right now called The Anxious Generation, which is a lot about like how video games and social media is just like stripping children and teens of like real lived experiences with people and nature. And we're also like starting to lose the sense of like awe and wonder, you know, that you feel in nature, or even like with music, for example.
Right.
So I'm curious, like that's what that line meant to me, or like made me think about, but I'm curious what that line meant to you. We all crave some wildness we cannot know.
Well, I think, when you said the anxious generation, I think that there's a lot of anxiety based on that. We're not in touch with nature. We don't know our place as a species. We don't know that we are useful to nature. We don't know that we are beloved of nature in the way that nature can love us, which is, not the way we love. It needs us in a different way, but we are needed. And I don't know. I think we would all be a lot more healthy in a mental health way and an emotional health way if we grew up knowing that and feeling that, and just realizing that we are this cool species that evolved alongside all of these other things and that we are related to them. It's just such a lovely thing to realize, and it just makes you feel smaller, but not smaller in a way that makes you less, smaller in a way that makes you surrounded by the arms of something greater. And it's very comforting.
Mm-hmm. You also strike me as someone who's like really honest and raw. And I feel like I hear some of that in your song Destination, specifically these lines, "You're all period blood and soundcheck blues, both armpits ripped and a lucky horseshoe pinball bruise."
Your tongue it shoots straw. You're all period blood and sound check blue. Armpits ripped and a lucky horseshoe pinball bruise.
Tell me about those lines.
That song is about all the lady and non-binary troubadours I met coming up in music, and especially the gay women that I met. I was very confused. I was a young person and I couldn't figure out who I was. I didn't know who I was. And I just was so confounded. Like, why do I care so much what men think? And I was also confounded by the fact that a lot of men would just kind of brush me off, or they wouldn't let me talk to them the way they talk to each other. I wasn't allowed to get in there and talk about gear or music or what kind of van I liked, or there was always a boundary there. And, I'm a gender fluid person. I don't really think I'm one or the other per se. But it broke my heart over and over and over and over again. And then I met gay women who did not care about what men thought about them. And they had a swagger and they had a self-confidence that came from growing up not worried about the male gaze, and they were looking to be musicians, not musicians who were highly regarded by men. And, I grew up thinking that what men think of you is really important. And it's not something I ever questioned, but their swagger and their confidence made me see an alternative to that. And then I questioned it. And they were my role models. They were, and still are, there's a different way to live your life that isn't in this prison. And, I thought, I just remember what it felt like to be on the road. And it's such a physical, uncomfortable thing sometimes, like you're underwear filled with period blood, like while you're trying to carry something and you have bruises all over you all the time. But like the pinball bruise is the best one because like you just played pinball too hard, bruised your hip or something, like there's so much stuff like that. And there was such camaraderie with those women, and I had so much fun with them, and they were my mentors, and they taught me how to be, not to be like them, but to find my way and be like me.
You love boys and guitars and girls and trucks. The way you move fills me with envy and wonder. Somehow live free of men's eyes, even with a bell on your collar. They don't find or define you, slip that news.
Yeah, because you actually write a little bit about that in your memoir, just like the experience of like what a sound check is like, because you've been doing this for decades now, and I think more and more now you're seeing more, women or non-binary folks filling more roles that were traditionally the sound guys, like it was always men,
It's
or
glorious, and I can't get enough.
and I remember you talking about, just having to fight with the sound guys about your sound on stage and just being talked down to,
Or somebody would look at Paul and go, "What does she want in her monitor?" I'm like, "I'm right here.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?"
Yeah. But also I'm curious about this line in the song Destination as well. Trash like us, we can't even spell, but we're impossible to kill.
Trash like us, we can't even spell, but we're impossible to kill.
What does that line mean?
Well, there's also a lot of classism, and I never graduated from high school. I have really bad ADHD. I can't spell. And I just remember being looked down upon by people for my education. And, people who supposedly are really open-minded and, progressive will do it. They'll just correct your spelling out of nowhere. And it's like, you know what? I didn't ask you for that. The internet, like,
Yeah.
like, now it's the internet spelling and grammar corrector person who really gets off on that. And I don't like it when anybody does that to anyone. I just think it's really crappy. And it's like, yeah, the educational system for regular folks in America sucks. And it sucked then, and it sucks for the teachers too.
I want to hear more about your song Ice Age. There's like lines like, a tide so high you don't notice that you're drinking seawater until you see your mother in the brine.
Tide so high, you don't notice that you're drinking the seawater until you see your mother in the brine.
Can you tell me more about like what inspired that song and kind of the story or image that you're painting there?
Well, it's probably the only song that kind of goes along with my book, even though the two are not related. It's about trying to reach someone that you love, and you can't understand why they don't love you. You can't, via proximity, you can't understand, like in nature, they are supposed to love you. And you try and try and try, and you can't. You can't reach that home. You just can't have it.
Yeah, in the book, I remember you talking about your mother like shooting you this look when you were young and calling you vain. You were like standing in front of a mirror, and she shot you a look and said like, "Don't be so vain." And in the book, you write, "It was enough to tell me that her love, all love, was not unconditional." And this idea of unconditional love is also something that my mom and I have thought about a lot over the years. But you also talk about this look, this cruel look, like in that song too.
From her I learned to be cruel. I learned the love that goes right past the ones who love you. So there's no one standing there.
There was just, a line about like a look you got. And is that reference to, I don't know, the way you felt like your mom saw you or didn't see you?
It's more seeing in myself the cruelty of her and making sure that I don't let that bloom into
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. There's also this line, you must be singularly one thing, an unbreakable storm of words and feelings.
Must be singularly one thing, an unbreakable storm of words and feelings.
Can you break down that line?
Well, I don't want to give everything away.
Yeah.
But I'm just essentially saying, if you're going to be a woman, you're going to have to work 10 times as hard. And that's just how it is.
Something that I've been meaning to ask, or that I've been curious about, especially since reading your memoir, but also just knowing like your long career. So in your memoir, you wrote, most of the people making a living as touring musicians work really hard and barely keep it together. Nothing is guaranteed, and there's no retirement plan or safety net or insurance unless you have a trust fund, and you never come off the road. And I mean, we talk about kind of the economics of the music industry a lot on this show. And, you know, just like looking at you, I mean, you've had such a long career, you know, you just released a new album. I'm just curious, like, do you still feel that crunch these days?
Yeah, in many ways it's worse because, you know, costs of everything have gone up exponentially. And, you know, there's still really archaic things in place, like venues taking a cut of your merch or weird fees for things, or, you know, just
The ticket fees. Yeah.
yeah. And you just want to get to your people, and you want to have a partnership with a venue rather than an adversarial relationship. So those little things in there, like the cut of the merch or whatever, those things keep a little bit of resentment in there, and they need to go away, because when I show up at a venue, I'm ready to meet the people and be kind. And it's like, we're partnering in this endeavor today. And the mythology of you're lucky to be here of rock and roll, like, it does not apply to me. And it didn't apply to me when I was young. You know, I drove a very long distance to get where I was going and worked very hard. That mythology of rock and roll is very harmful. And it's often leveraged to make people think that theater wasn't built to play music in. Like, really? That's weird, because I don't know, there's a stage and you have a huge sound system in here. Gosh, I guess we could probably get together and make this happen. And, you know, a lot of venues aren't like that. And I don't play a lot where people are weird and withholding and stuff. But, you know, there's little things that make you feel really unwelcome. And then there are things that are just like cost effectively not good. For example, like in the 2000s, like I could go to Europe and take my band, and I can't do that anymore. So if you go to Europe, your fans show up and they're awesome. They don't get the full representation of what you want to do.
That's the power of our love.
I understand you're also working on the music for a Broadway musical for Thelma and Louise. And I also can't help but mention that you've got a song on this album called Louise.
Yeah.
How has it been writing music for a musical?
It has been a masterclass in songwriting and storytelling. It's been almost 10 years now. And
Wow.
I learn a lot from the other members of the creative team every day. They are honest and they work really hard. And it's a very different thing to be serving a story that belongs to somebody else than one that belongs to you.
Because you're writing the lyrics too, right? For that story?
I'm not writing the story, I'm writing the music.
The music.
And the
Okay,
lyrics.
yeah.
But I mean, it is part of the story, but I don't do it without Callie going, yeah, that's what I want. Because Callie's the original writer of Thelma and Louise and won the Oscar for the screenplay when the movie came out. And she invented the characters. They are hers. And I feel like they're real human beings to me. I know them. I live and breathe them. And I love them so much. I would fight to the death for them. And I just want to do the best I can for them and for her.
When do we get to see the results of all this work?
Well, a couple of our producers are British, and so we've been doing a lot of work over there. So I think it's going to probably premiere in London in its earlier stages, and that could change. So I say that and that's the idea, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen exactly that way. And I believe that fall 2026 is when we are expected to roll out a stage production. Again, Broadway and the East End, London, like things change all the time. So that's our projected goal, but it could change a bit.
Yeah. So my final question, KEXP, we're all about music discovery. So we would love for you to give us a song recommendation. Like, what's a song that you think everyone should hear? Like a song that has stuck with you somewhere along your life, or a song that you're loving right now?
Well, I think the best song written in the last 20 years is a song called The South Will Never Rise Again by Desdemonas from DC, who are currently on tour with us. It fills me with hope. It reminds me that people will fight fascism and do it with a smile on their face. And I am so proud to be on tour with them. They are such an incredible band. And I just think this is a song that everybody should hear.
You can uphold the Second Amendment and kill black people in churches, but the South will never rise again. You can join the Ku Klux Klan and plant crosses in our yards, but the South will never rise again. You can build a big wall between the border of US and Mexico, but the South will never rise again. You can shoot us, you can kill us, you can burn us, you can stone us, but the South will never rise again. 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 The South will never rise again.
Well, I've been speaking with Neko Case. Her album Neon Gray, Midnight Green was released in September. She'll play the Masonic in San Francisco on November 11th and the Paramount in Seattle on November 14th. Neko Case, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a great tour. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to meet you.
And that was A Deeper Listen. Before you go, please subscribe to this podcast, rate it, review it. Those things go a long way. I'm just looking at this podcast page on Apple Music. I haven't looked at it in a while. It looks like we got one quick review in September, but it's been a while since we've heard from anyone. So if you want to leave a review, that'd be awesome. I will read it. It will mean a lot to me. Please rate this show again too, wherever you get your podcasts. And also, as you may know, funding times are a little tricky at public radio stations across the country. KEXP is a publicly funded station. If you want to help financially support this show and what we do, you can give at kexp.org/deeper. There's also some thank you gifts there too when you give. So again, kexp.org/deeper. But most of all, thanks for taking a deeper listen.